You don't want us to cook? Alrighty then. I've been thinking about posting this story for a while, and just decided to commit. It brings a smile to my face. So here goes. When my brother and I were younger, 10F, 12 meters, our parents had a rule that, other than using the microwave, we could not cook without a parent present. We can prep what we wanted to cook, but we were not to so much as touch the stove or oven. We tried it once, and got fussed at. That's all it took. One summer, he and I wanted to make home fries, but our mother was at work, and our father had just stepped out to do errands. I want to make home fries. Wait a minute. Pardon. Mom and Dad said we couldn't cook when they're not here. Quote. Now, let me interject with a little context about me. I was a smart aleck kid, and it got me in trouble often. So the inner workings of my mind on this day were bent towards mischief. They didn't say we couldn't cut it up, though. Wonder Twin malicious compliance. Activate. We then went to work, and peeled, cut up, and seasoned the potatoes before putting them in a bowl, covering the bowl with foil and placing it in the fridge. My brother and I looked at each other and said, wouldn't it be funny if Dad came home and ate raw potatoes but said they were good even though they were raw? Quote. For a little more context, my dad was notorious for going into the refrigerator and eating whatever food he felt like eating, regardless of whose it was. We laughed hysterically at the thought for about 10 minutes before going back to play Sega. About 2 hours go by and then my dad came home. As expected, he went to the refrigerator and pulled out the bowl of raw potatoes. We heard the rustle of the foil and immediately went to the kitchen to watch what he was going to do. He ate a potato and said, "Oh, this is raw. It tastes good, though. But why didn't you cook it?" We reminded him that he said we couldn't cook if there wasn't a parent in the house. He chuckled and got out the skillet. That rule didn't last much longer in the house, and he began teaching us how to cook more. R. Delicious compliance. When my parents divorced and we at my dad's house, he was never home. If it weren't for French fries, I wouldn't have survived. I haven't eaten them much since. Sometimes my big brother, who was in college, would come home for the weekend and he would load us in the back of the pickup and take us out to eat with a check he would steal from Dad. Good times. Once when it snowed, he dragged us on a car hood behind the tractor to the store. I love my brother. I ate raw potatoes all the time when I was a kid. Peel, salt, bite, repeat. Your dad sounds wise and funny. You're lucky to have him. Unexpectedly wholesome. At least your dad was a good sport. And if your brother was 12, he was probably old enough to be trusted with cooking at least a few things. My grandma was cutting up potatoes, and I asked her for a chunk. She thought I thought they were apples. So she said, "You probably won't like them." I don't remember if I knew it was potatoes. I think I knew just before I asked that they weren't apples. I liked the raw potato, and it became our thing. God damn it. Take my wholesome up vote. Also, poor man's gold trophy. I also had that rule until I showed I could cook responsible. I think I started to bake around 7 with parental guidance. But around 10 or 11, I was allowed to do it by myself. My mom would still check up on me though. Dad enjoyed the tater his tots made. I seriously enjoy eating raw potatoes. Bonus if they are seasoned. My wife loves raw potatoes! Exclamation mark. It's very strange to me. Is this funny to people that had healthy childhoods? Could belong in our wholesome. I was not allowed to cook on the stove, so I made tater tots on the Mr. Coffee pot warmer. Your dad is awesome. When we were young, my older sister, by 15 months, was in charge when our parents went out. They very rarely went out, usually only for their anniversary. Just for context, we also have 4 younger brothers and sisters and were not allowed to cook anything. My older sister decided she wanted to bake a white cake with frosting as a surprise. She rushed the process because we had under 2 hours. The cake itself was somewhat undercooked, and when she frosted the cake, the frosting melted, and it looked gross. My parents walked in the door and were upset that we used the oven. They said they appreciated the thought and they cut the cake. It did not taste good, being undercooked, and the remains of the cake disappeared when we got up the next day. The next year, my older sister wanted to repeat the cake, so she didn't learn a thing. I'm so glad to find I'm not the only person who likes raw potatoes, especially when they're seasoned before cooking. My sa thinks I'm nuts cause I taste the taters for seasoning before cooking.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.